Welcome, everybody. Is this working? Shock of shocks. I'm doing it via just YouTube again tonight, which means my audio will probably be weird. You're getting my computer audio probably rather than my good mic, but hey, at least the picture's working. So tell me that this is working. As always, there's a little bit of a delay of when I talk and then when you guys come on. So let me, while I plug in TikTok here, there we go. I'm going to get TikTok going. Let me know how it is looking, because it's been very frustrating, as you know. But at least this is actually, I had somebody trying to help me today. We still can't figure out what the problem is, but at least this works other than the audio being a little bad, but we'll live with that. All right. Go live. Evening all. I'm hoping you can hear me, right? Or see me and hear me. Yes. Hopefully. Oh, good. You can see me. God, it's like delayed half a minute. Oh, that's weird. I've actually been live for like half a minute before you guys responded. Oh, that's weird. It literally makes me think like nobody's there. Not nobody's there. I can see your comments, but that like it's not working. Well, that's good at least. Yay. Okay. I'm feeling better now. Let me set up TikTok. Yeah, it's fine. You know what? We don't get the little thing on the outside of the screen. The quality is slightly less in the recording. It's still very good, but it is slightly less. Which bothers me a little bit. You know what? At least this works. So, let me just get TikTok set up here. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, it's good enough. At least it looks good. And the sound, I was listening yesterday. The sound is like my computer. Basically, you get a little more of the room reverberation, it's called. I learned. Echo is echo. Reverb is when you're in a large room with tall ceilings and it kind of, goes hello, hello, Any case, let me get this set up. The Desi flower is funny. All right. I'm going to start. All right, here. There we go. Glasgow. Hello, Glasgow. You're another Scott. I didn't remember. Maybe you're another Scott. I knew we had Tired Guy. I know because we've got Callum and we've got, I'm forgetting her name. Our other mod. Totally forgetting her name now. And maybe somebody else who's Scottish. I'm trying to remember. All right. Hey, TikTokers. All right. We are here. We are here. Yay. Hey, Jens. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, TikTokers. Well, today will be a good day. I've got my notes. We've got the cameras working. TikTok's working. Hey, Ash. Very good. I am feeling much better today. Hey, Big Hawk. Oh, boy. Craziness. Oh, and thank you, Aviation Bean, for the gift. That was very nice of you. Anyway, so yes, our connections are working good tonight, so that's good at least. Oops, just kind of wiping the bottom of my coaster so I don't have water all over my table. These things matter when you finally own your own place, then you get anal about all of your stuff. There we go. Oh, I know I've got the white shirt. Oh shit, the white shirt. I didn't think about that. Oh, is it killing the comments on TikTok? I forget. I was wearing the white shirt because I never wear light clothes. I'm always wearing dark clothes. And of course, I forget on TikTok, white tends to wash out the comments. So is it washing out the comments or is it survivable for you all? Because I'd rather not have to go change clothes. It's fine. Okay, good. I thought about it. If you all complained, I would have run in. Thank you, Ryan, for subscribing. Very nice of you. Had you all massively complained, actually, I would have waited for Ash and Manda. Thank you, Succeed. Thank you, Alan. Had they said, okay, it's pretty bad, I would have gone and changed shirts for you guys, but this is good. At least I can wear my white finally. You know what? I am going to change the thermostat 1 degree though. 1 second. It's a little. Oh yeah. There we go. All right. Because I control my thermostat with my voice. I forget about that sometimes, but I don't want to like change all of your guys' thermostats. Anyway, oh man. The announcement by the UK Prime Minister regarding elections I did. Yes. Yeah, the British are going to be holding elections July 4th, I guess, which is funny. Our Independence Day. Our Independence Day from Britain, by the way. Thank you, Jane, for the gift. Thank you, Pedro. I don't know that it matters much. Well, it might matter for Ukraine. I mean, I guess you guys tell me, though, because I do not follow the intricacies of opposition politics in Britain. I do know that, so basically, they're able to call elections whenever they want. It's kind of confusing. Not whenever they want, but more or less. It's very confusing to us because our elections are set like in the Constitution. It's set. You can't change it. Thank you, Vicky. So Sunak, who's their prime minister, called elections in 6 weeks, July 4th, I believe. And it's for the parliament. And basically, whichever party gets the majority in parliament or a majority coalition gets to be the prime minister. So that's how they pick the leader. You don't actually vote for the leader of the country. You vote for the party to lead the country, basically, by picking members of parliament. That's the bottom idea. That's the basic line. What was going on was apparently their party is doing very bad in the polls. Their conservatives run the British government. They're doing so badly in the polls that recently there was some good news with the economy and some other stuff. So basically, he called the elections now because he has the ability to do that. He called the elections now because they're going to get trounced anyway. But at least right now, because there's some good news lately, maybe they'll do better. So that's what's going on. Now, I don't know. You guys tell me, British folks there. I do not pay much attention to the British opposition. Is Labour okay on Ukraine? I mean, I know you've got a few of those lunatics like what's his face who, no longer runs Labour, and that other lunatic who's in Parliament right now, Galloway or whatever his name is. But generally speaking, is Labour okay? I mean, having the opposition party, is that going to really affect aid to Ukraine at all or support for Ukraine? Just curious. For our British folks who are among us. I should have actually asked Callum earlier. Yeah, Corbyn's the one I was thinking of. Corbyn's the old bad guy. But then Galloway, I guess, is in Parliament now. Labour's fine with Ukraine, McFadge says. Okay. Andrew's saying the same thing. Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, so it shouldn't make any big difference. That's good. Okay, I just thought I'd mention it since somebody had mentioned over at YouTube. Thank you, Ernie. And at the same time, want to make sure. All right, guys. Well, welcome. Sorry, my head is itching. I am John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report. It's my show I do every Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S., talking about the latest news from Ukraine. Sometimes we do other politics, too, if it's going on, like we just mentioned, the British elections. Thank you, Ellie, or Eli. Someday I'm going to figure out, okay, you got to tell me. I'm assuming you're an Ellie because your picture looks like you might be a woman. I'm not going to continue the show till you tell me. Are you an Ellie? Because I keep calling you Ellie and Eli. And I got to get it right one of these days because you always are here, which is really sweet of you. And you just gave a gift. All right, I'm going to wait a second here while Ellie Eli lets me know if she's an Ellie. I'm assuming it's Ellie. Hey, Max Trax. Hey, Kevin. And I just got Galloway got kicked out. Didn't he just get into Parliament or something? In any case, I just sent out a bunch of the auction items. Those of you who bid on auction items like last week or a couple of weeks before, the ones even in when I was gone in April in Asia, I'm just sending, everything's packed up. Everything's going out tomorrow. So you will now get them, which is good. The show yesterday was a disaster, Max. We're not even going to talk about it. Thank you, Buddy Sprouse, for subscribing. Appreciate that. Yesterday we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Thank you, Hannah, for the gift. It was crazy over trying to, because I basically streamed the show to TikTok, and we also streamed to that other place, YT, if you may have heard about it. You have been here from the beginning. Okay. Well, I know I've been screwing up your name forever. I remember. Because I remember whenever I see your name, I always go Ellie, Eli. Thank you, Nicholas, for the hat or for the heart. In any case, we had problems yesterday. The streaming is going better today, so at least the connection's working. Let's go on. Ashleen, I have no idea if I got your message. I don't know. If you wrote me over on Discord, I will look. Otherwise, I don't know. Thank you, Joyce, for the friendship necklace. Let's get rolling, guys. So today is day 818 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. Please do keep the likes coming. Remember, just to we think it might help for TikTok and YouTube to get the show out to people if you hit the like button. Like on TikTok, on YouTube, there's an actual like button you can hit. On TikTok, I didn't know this until a year into TikTok. You can tap the screen. Thank you, Sunshine. And when you tap the screen on TikTok, it actually, assuming you're on your phone or an iPad or something, it actually throws a heart up. And those likes tell the algorithm, apparently, thank you, Charles, that you like it and possibly it helps to get more people to come. Thank you, Sunshine and Joyce, for the gifts on TikTok. Joyce for many gifts, actually. Ocean Lover, I see you too. And Hannah. All right. So let's get rolling, guys. So please do a final point. Keep the gifts coming. Like the gifts. They support my work. Very much appreciated. So keep them coming. But we'll hit more on that later. Reuters. So British Defense Minister, that is. Thank you, L. Lee. Thank you, Jen. British Defense Minister Grant Shapps accused China today of providing or preparing to provide Russia with lethal aid in Ukraine. Thank you, Mustard. Thank you, Magical. I was just telling, because I see Mustard too, all the stuff you guys bid on previously, I finally got packaged up today, the most recent stuff, but also the stuff from a few weeks ago. So everything's caught up. It's all getting mailed out tomorrow. So thank you guys. Thank you, Mustard, for the. I like the little. I think those are funny. The little. There's little flowers that grow out of your head on TikTok they can give me, which are really cute. Any case, so the British are accusing the Chinese government of either providing or preparing to provide lethal aid to Russia to help them attack the Ukrainians. The Chinese have claimed, and it's total BS, but the Chinese have claimed that they are, independent, middle of the road. They're not taking sides, this kind of stuff. They're Russia's biggest supporter, really, in many ways. Thank you, Jen, for the gift. Thank you, Aviation. They're Russia's biggest supporter. We don't know. We haven't known to date whether China was giving Russia weapons, although there was a concern there was. Thank you, Vicky. But now the Brits are saying, and it's the British defense minister saying outright, thank you, Vicky, that the Chinese either are getting ready to or just did provide lethal weapons to Russia to attack Ukraine, which would be a big deal. Because as I said, China is trying to play this cute little game. China is much more complicated because China, they're thinking in the long term. China is trying to basically take over the U.S., take over the U.S., but surpass the U.S. in terms of influence around the world. They want to be the global they want to be not just a superpower, they want to be the global superpower. So they're trying to, at the same time that they're working with Russia to help them defeat Ukraine, and they're working with Russia because China wants to have an alliance with Russia to basically have an alliance against the U.S. So it's the Chinese and the Russians versus America, right? So that's why it's concerning from an American perspective that the Chinese and the Russians are together, but it's also why the Chinese and the Russians work together. Part of the reason is both of them want to be an offset to the U.S. The thing is, with China trying to be sort of the, they want to be the new world power. They're trying to kind of be a middleman at the same time. Thank you, Taylor. They're trying to really seem it. So they're reportedly going to be attending the peace conference in Switzerland next month, the Ukrainian peace conference. They're trying to sort of do this game in the United Nations Security Council. Sometimes the Russians would veto or oppose stuff. China would kind of try to be in the middle. Either they wouldn't vote or whatever, they would abstain. So it's interesting if they were to go so far as to start providing lethal weapons to Russia, because that means they have now openly chosen a side, and they're no longer trying to sort of be that, august statesman, middleman kind of thing. But we'll see. We'll see. Thank you, Dale the Plumber and Taylor, for the gifts there. Let me see. All right. Let me go on here. Oh, so this was interesting. So one of you guys mentioned last night, I remember this towards the end of the show, somebody on maybe TikTok was talking about, and you were right, you were talking about the Russians basically trying to rewrite the map in the Baltic Sea, which is, I will show you here, the Baltic Sea, which is up here, where you got a number of the countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Sweden, and a little bit of Russia here too. The Russians have been trying to sort of rewrite the map to change the borders of Finland. And who was the other one? Was it Lithuania? Let me see here. Shoot, it was, I don't have it written down. It was Finland and one of the other countries that the Russians were playing games with where the basically seat, was it Latvia? Okay, Latvia. Somebody's saying, Pedro's saying. No, Lithuania. See, I thought it was Lithuania. Pabulind is saying Lithuania. So is user 664. Jens is saying Estonia. Come on, guys. It was Finland. I think it was Lithuania. Yeah, because of Kaliningrad. Okay, I thought it was Lithuania. They're trying to play, which makes sense because Kaliningrad, that little Russian territory, is right here. And Lithuania is right here. So by playing games with the water border boundary and everything else, you're playing games with Kaliningrad itself. Well, the Russians sort of unilaterally said, we're reinterpreting the border, and it's now, we're going to claim basically, land or water area that belongs to those countries. Thank you, Christine. Well, today, that announcement, it was apparently some kind of draft announcement. I'm assuming the same way we in the Federal Record will publish announcements of things the government's going to do or agencies are going to do. The draft announcement was deleted today, so it's gone. NATO was swiftly criticizing, of course, what the Russians were doing because it was kind of a declaration of war. America, I don't need to guess because I've got 40 years experience doing this stuff. But what you'll find is when dealing with foreign policy and other things, you don't always have the answers to everything. And therefore, you try to be intelligent. You try to use your education, your background, your experience, and try to, he's a troll that we just got rid of, but he was saying, don't guess. Of course you got to guess. I mean, unless Joe Biden talks to me personally, unless Vladimir Putin talks to me personally, we're not going to know exactly what they're thinking. You've got to guess. That's the whole point of the analysis and doing these kind of shows. But also I would say media overall, any of this kind of stuff. It's the reason you turn to experts because they tend to know more. So they're able to hopefully intuit what's going on, which is a good educated guess. Thank you. Was it Mosh? I'm going to say Moshvanga with the S with the cool thing on the bottom. In any case, so that was good. It looks like the Russians backed down after NATO told them. My guess is NATO probably told the Russians, you try to play games with NATO borders and it's an act of war. Now, I wonder, my guess is the Baltic states would have said that. Poland would have said that. I don't know about everybody else. I'd be curious what the other countries would have said, but at least the Russians looked like they got scared and backed down. Let's see. Oh, so this was funny. Speaker Johnson. So the Republican Speaker of the House, which is basically the top Republican in the U.S. House of Representatives. His name is Mike Johnson. Republicans control the U.S. House. Thank you, Tom, for the hat on TikTok. Republicans control the U.S. House of Representatives. Democrats control the U.S. Senate. It's nice out, so my dog keeps going in and out, so we're going to have one of those days. Democrats control the U.S. Senate. And as you know, Republicans were blocking, MAGA Republicans who are in control of the House of Representatives in America, were blocking aid to Ukraine for 6 months. Finally, they came around, decided to bring up the legislation. It passed with Democrats helping. But for 6 months, they cut off all American aid to Ukraine at the demand of Donald Trump and the MAGA crowd in Congress that is very anti-Ukraine and very pro-Putin. As you know, too, it has significantly set back the war effort in Ukraine. Russia is now doing better than Ukraine. And literally everyone will tell you, thank you, Tom, again. Oh, and thank you, Blue Ariel. Very nice gift on TikTok, the couch potato. The reason Ukraine isn't doing as well and Russia's doing better is because of what the Republicans did in U.S. Congress. And literally, we even have the British Foreign Secretary said this the other day. In any case, so you've got the House Speaker who killed aid to Ukraine for 6 months, handing Russia a major gift, okay? He gets asked in the last day about whether the U.S. should put restrictions on the aid we give Ukraine. Because currently, the U.S. has told Ukraine, we believe, has told Ukraine, you can't use our weapons to attack Russia in Russia. You can use our weapons to attack the Russian occupation in Ukraine, at least here. Not entirely clear about Crimea, because Russia took Crimea in 2014. Not entirely clear whether they can use American weapons or which ones they can use to attack here. But we do know that they can use American weapons to attack the Russian occupation here in Ukraine. What we've told them, though, is they cannot use American weapons to attack Russia itself. Now, why would you want to attack Russia itself? Well, it's pretty simple. Right now, for example, Russia is attacking Vovchansk, which is a now becoming rather famous small town here in Ukraine near the town of Kharkiv. Russia's trying to take this town. Well, Russia's firing at that town from across the border. That town's on the border with Russia. All of this is Russia. Russia's got troops and weapons and artillery and fuel and everything else right across the border. If Ukraine can't fire across the border to blow those troops, to blow those fuel, to blow that ammunition up, they can't stop the Russians from attacking the Ukrainian towns. A lot of their weapons are American weapons and European weapons, right? Come on, Sash, come on in. A lot of their artillery shells are American. A lot of the artillery pieces, the guns, American. They're not allowed to shoot Russia. So Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, gets asked about this and says, do you think it's right that America is, Biden administration is telling the Ukrainians they can't use American weapons to fire at Russian troops inside Russia? He responds and says, Ukraine needs to be able to fight back. And I think us trying to micromanage the effort there is not a good policy for us. He's right. But he's also he's the guy responsible for Russia doing well in Ukraine right now and for Ukraine not doing well, because he's the guy that cut off aid to Ukraine. Now, Trump is the guy in the end who did it. Trump told him to do it, but he did it. He was the one in charge. He didn't have to do it just because Trump told him to do it, but he decided to be a Trumper and cut off all aid to Ukraine and help Vladimir Putin. So, I just had to bring it up because for this guy of all people to be the one to stand up and go, we shouldn't be handicapping Ukraine, when he handicapped Ukraine for 6 months by cutting off all American aid to Ukraine because Donald Trump told him to. The guy's a bit of what really pisses me off, actually, he's actually not even MAGA. He's a Reagan Republican. He is the old school American Republican Party that hates Russia, hates the Soviet Union, believes in America, believes in democracy, believes in promoting democracy abroad, believes in using American military force to fight bad guys around the world. Like, he's one of those. He's one of the old traditional right-wingers who says America should go and beat the bejesus out of bad people, including the Russians. He so caved to Trump. He didn't just cave to Trump and do what Trump wanted by cutting off aid to Ukraine. He went against everything he believes in, all of his principles. He himself has said he thinks Putin's a madman. He said this just a few months ago. He can't stand the Russians. He wants Ukraine to win the war, but he decided to handicap Ukraine because Donald Trump told him to. And to me, that's even worse, because if you're MAGA, that's one thing. Like, if you're literally somebody who likes America's enemies and you hate America, okay, whatever, right? I mean, I don't like you for that reason, but at least you're consistent. But to be somebody who actually believes in standing up to America's enemies, who thinks Russia's a threat, who thinks Russia has to be stopped, who thinks Ukraine has to win, and then to say, well, but Donald Trump is pressuring me, so oh well, right? Anyway, very annoying, very annoying. Oh, I'm sure we get election warnings. Yeah, we're going to get. I mean, look, I will say this. I think it's probably not a bad idea that TikTok puts election warnings up when people talk about elections. The problem is, of course, let's hope they do it to everybody and not just me. Anyway, Jay, here's the problem. Jay says, why are you getting all liberal? The irony, Jay, is that until Donald Trump came along, it wasn't liberal to say we had to defend America and beat the Russians. It wasn't liberal to say we should be using American military force around the world to pursue America's objectives and to basically help spread freedom around the world. That was about as right-wing as you could get. And it frankly still is as right-wing as you can get. On foreign policy, I'm kind of a right-winger. I'm actually very much a right-winger on foreign policy. Thank you, Frankie. I'm not a big fan of massive human rights abuses, which some people on the right traditionally they were kind of okay with just massive human rights abuses. But otherwise, it isn't liberal. I mean, I'm just saying, but it's also bullshit that we're at the point we are where Republicans, Donald Trump has so screwed with Republicans' heads that Republicans get offended that you talk about going after the Russians, defending democracy, standing up for freedom, right? Using our military to spread freedom around the world. I mean, again, that's about as right-wing as you can get. But Trump turned it on its head and made it that's getting all libby. But I'm serious. I'm bringing it up, Jay, because I realize you probably like the show and that's why you brought it up. But think about what you're saying. Okay? It's liberal to suggest that all those things I believe in and think we should do. And bottom line is, Donald Trump opposes every single thing I just said. Every single thing I just said, Donald Trump opposes. And there is no way it's conservative to say, America should pull back from the world. He doesn't want to keep our military in South Korea, which is insane. He doesn't want us in Europe. He doesn't want us defending NATO against the Russians. He thinks we should give countries to the Russians. I'm sorry. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. But no, so I'm about as conservative as you can get, which is why I'm going to keep standing up to him and defending these ideals, because your party's screwed up on this front and you need to stand up and do something. If you don't agree, good. Do something about it. Do something about it. Anyway, no, it just pisses me off because Republicans are never going to get better if they don't sort of face up to the fact that their party is basically what the left used to be. Thank you, Jonathan. Like a bunch of peaceniks who don't believe in America. They think we're weak. They don't want us involved in the world. They don't want to use our military. They don't care about our enemies, and they don't want to fight our enemies. They want to let our enemies do what they want. Thank you, Sunshine. It's kind of, I mean, it is. It's very much what liberals used to be criticized for. Kind of being pussies, basically. And got news for you. It ain't liberals anymore. In any case. All right. Zelensky and Western aid delays. So Zelensky said today that aid is taking too long when it comes to listen. This I thought was interesting because it parroted what I've been saying. But listen to this. Zelensky does an interview with Reuters and says aid is taking too long when it comes to decisions on military support. He says every decision which everyone came to was late by around a year. So he's saying in the last 2 years of the war, every decision that was taken, like once it was finally a good decision, was a year too late. But it is what it is, one big step forward, but before that, 2 steps back. So we need to change the paradigm a little bit. When we're quick, they fall behind. And then there's a gap, 6, 8 months of unpassed aid packages, and then 2 to 3 months of supplies, and a year goes by. He's talking about how basically we go 6 months not giving Ukraine anything. Then we pass some aid. In 2 to 3 months, they get a lot of stuff. And then we ignore them for another year. And we wonder why they're having a hard time winning the war. Because, again, we're not consistent. And as I said before, I don't think we want to win the war. You and I want to win the war. But our governments, most of them are, frankly, afraid of Russia. Oh, this was an interesting story out of Paris. The French government believes the Russians government defaced a Holocaust memorial in France in order to basically stoke divisions between Jews and Muslims. Now, not surprising, because it's the kind of thing the Russians have done and would do. What's surprising is that the French are actually calling them out on this. Listen to this. The French authorities are reportedly investigating the potential role of Russian secret services in graffiti that was painted on the Holocaust memorial in Paris. France Info media outlet said on May 21st, citing sources in law enforcement. Russian security services have been accused of carrying out a wide variety of subversive acts in the EU, ranging from assassinations to low-level sabotage. French authorities discovered spray-painted red hand symbols. By the way, it's actually not just a Palestinian protest symbol, the red hand. It's a Hamas symbol. The red hands were shown in the air by some Palestinians after murdering the Jewish hostages. And they showed their hands covered with the blood. It was supposed to be the blood of the Jews. It is not a protest symbol. It was literally a terrorist symbol. But that's why the Russians did it. They wanted to put this on a Holocaust memorial to basically to send the message, right? That again, because TikTok censors everything that isn't like pro-Russian and pro-whatever. I can't even say the phrase. The red hands means kill Jews, is what the red hands mean. And by the Russians putting it on the Holocaust memorial, you know what they were saying. Anyway, French authorities discovered spray-painted red hands on the memorial, which the mayor immediately characterized as an anti-Semitic act. The following week, authorities told France Info that the possible perpetrators had been found using surveillance cameras and other corroborating information and identified as Bulgarian nationals. Investigators told France Info that there is little doubt it was a Russian operation to destabilize public opinion. They're not like you and me. That's all I got to say. Sweden plans to allocate $7 billion in military aid to Ukraine between 2024 and 2026. Sweden will increase the support. Anyway, I don't even need to go through the details. $7 billion in military aid. Now, why is that important? It is important. The aid on its face is important, that they're giving $7 billion between now and 2026. What is also important is that they're announcing it in advance, because if you look at the US, for example, we pass aid and then we don't do anything for 6 months or a year, right? Actually, not just 6 months. We cut off aid for 6 months, but then we didn't pass a new aid package for like a year before that. When you announce money you're going to give to Ukraine for the next 2 years or 3 years, you're basically making it much harder for the Russians to plan their war, because they know now the Swedes aren't just giving Ukraine something today. The Swedes are making a commitment to give Ukraine something for the next 2 to 3 years. Right? So if you're Russia, you kind of go, crap, right? Thank you, Marie. If you're Russia, you want the Swedes not to give Ukraine money. You want the possibility that Sweden might cut Ukraine off in 6 months or a year like America did under Trump, right? Or what Trump did with the Congress. By Sweden promising the money for multi-years, it does a lot to buttress Ukraine, and it does a lot to basically screw up Russia's planning, which is good, and Russian morale as well. This was interesting. So there's a story of a Russian general. Actually, this is the last story. I don't have a ton of stories tonight. A Russian general who was arrested. Very interesting. he was arrested for criticizing how the war was going because they were having too many losses. And there wasn't his men weren't getting enough equipment and everything. Putin had the guy arrested for it. And now he's in serious trouble. Thank you, Brigitte. Listen to this. This was via the Telegraph. A Russian general who criticized military leaders over high casualty rates in Ukraine has been arrested on corruption charges, sparking uproar among pro-war bloggers. Major General Ivan Popov, 49, was sacked in July last year after complaining about the mass deaths and injuries of Russian soldiers in Ukraine. On Tuesday, Russian state media reported that Popov, who once commandeered Russia's 58th Combined Arms Army in Ukraine, had been arrested on suspicion of large-scale fraud. They arrested the guy and accused him of fraud because he was critical of how the war was going, and he was right. And he wasn't just critical of how the war was going, he was critical of the fact that a lot of his men were dying unnecessarily. And this is what you get in a dictatorship, basically, which is sad. All right. Actually, this is the last story. This is a good story. Ukraine, remember how, how Ukraine has been using drones overall very effectively. You also know that they've been building their drone program significantly. I think they want to make like 1 million drones this year. They also have been very successful at building boat drones, right? Drones that are basically like autonomous little boats that go and they have explosives on them and they work as kamikaze boats. So basically kamikaze meaning just like the drones, you've got an explosive charge in the drone and either the drone flies if it's a flying drone. Thank you, Eric, for the roses. Either it flies if it's a flying drone or if it's a boat drone, it's a boat. It's an unmanned boat that goes in the water and blows up when it hits its target. Well, the Ukrainians just announced and said they're already using them, that they've upgraded some of their Sea Baby naval drones, the boat drones, and they've now made them rocket launchers. They're now able to launch salvos of Grad rockets, which is kind of wild. Because first of all, it also means the drone can come back and get more weapons and then fire again, and keep being used again. But also the fact that it can fire rockets, thank you, Snuffleupagus and Lamb Chop and Jeremy, is just, I was going to say it's really cool. It is really cool, but it's also changes. I'd be very curious, actually. I'm kind of curious. Any of you guys who are military folks or former military folks or just very geeky on military stuff, thank you, Adventures. Thank you, Dale. How does it change the Ukrainian targeting if they can fire Grad rockets instead of having to do a kamikaze? Thank you, Timothy and Adventures and Dale. Now, in general, the kamikaze drones have got to hit their target to blow up. So they've got to hit the target and then they blow up. That means you've got to get to the target, right? In this case, if you're firing rockets, you don't have to be literally a millimeter away from the target, right? You can be further back. Now, I don't know with Grad rockets how far back you can be. Does anybody know? I also don't know how strong are the Grad rockets. Thank you, Marge. Thank you, Dale. How strong are they? In the sense that how much damage can you do with the Grad rockets that would be on one of these boats? I'm just curious. And what distance can they fire from? So let's see what some of you guys are saying. They make the drones a precision weapon. They are ground to air to protect jets and helicopters, taking them out. They can attack land targets in ports and bridges. From how far away do we know? They're not precision weapons, Mustard says, or typically armor piercing. What are they typically used for then? And what would they be used for? Would they be used for boat attacks? If you had them on a drone boat, I'm assuming it's for going after boats, right? Come close to the beach and attack. That's interesting. So you could go after harbors. Just looking here. Ground to ground. I'm just curious here what you're saying. Extend the drone survival. Now, we know it extends the drone survivability. I was just curious about the targeting itself. Far enough not to be shot out of the water. Okay. Anyway, just curious. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff. But I was just curious as to what kind of targets could you go after that perhaps you weren't going after before. 20-kilometer range? You're kidding, Julian. But a 20-kilometer from the boat drone? No way. It's not that far, is it? From the boat drone itself? That would be fascinating. See, now that would be fascinating if that's the case. I'd be curious, like what range the actual ones that are on the boat have, right? Because and also that they're small means they're more maneuverable. The Russians have a smaller chance of seeing them. Mark Body says they're not as precise, so that's an issue. Right. So if you're firing from 20 kilometers and they're not precise, that doesn't help you. You probably need to be closer up if you're if you're doing that. It can travel to the seashore and attack anything inland. Okay. Anyway, it's very cool. Thank you, Jen, for the tiny diny. That is it for the news, guys. We will do our hangout we normally do and talk about all of this right now. Grandel says, normally be out of range. They use grads to overwhelm air defense to get the better munitions. I don't care about the Russian nuclear training, Carly. I mean, I will talk about it, though. On the boat, it has 15-kilometer range. That's pretty good, though. 15 kilometers is like 15 kilometers is 20. I hate kilometers. 15 kilometers is 10 miles, about 10 miles. That's still pretty damn good range. Wow. The Russians, so Carly was asking, and when I say I don't care, I mean, it's just typical Russian. The Russians have been doing, training of their tactical nuclear weapons. And basically, these are the small nuclear weapons that you'd use in warfare, not to blow up a city, but maybe to blow up a military base or a military headquarters, something like that. And the Russians are all pissed off and freaking out because the French, the Czech government, the Poles said that, maybe they'll end up sending, and I think did the Estonians do it too, I think, said maybe they would end up sending troops to Ukraine eventually, non-combat troops. And the Russians freaked out. And typically what the Russians do when they freak out, they bluff. Russia bluffs. And they usually bluff in the most obnoxious, incredibly obnoxious, offensive way possible. So what they're doing now is bluffing about nuking us, and they're practicing using their nuclear weapons. Now, they're not actually using the nuclear weapons, obviously, because they're not going off, but they're like pretending to use their nuclear weapons, and they're having practice. And that's what they're doing. And they're doing it to try to freak us out. And they're doing it to try to freak Biden out and to freak out the Germans, especially to freak Biden and the German Chancellor Scholz, because they're the two. The French president wasn't great either, but they're doing it to basically freak them out and go, oh my God, the Russians are practicing with their nuclear weapons. We better stop helping Ukraine, right? So it's like, give me a break. Give me a break. That's what I'm saying. I don't care. It's typical Russia doing its usual bluff. Again, I'm going to use my nukes. Yeah, sure you are, and we'll use ours too. So go away. Weapons in space. I don't know. It's a good question. Light creator. How do I see the U.S. responding to the weapons in space? By building our own, unfortunately. The Russians are currently planning on putting nuclear weapons in space to have like nuclear weapons floating in space to attack satellites. If they do it, we kind of have to do it. Probably. The only thing would be, it depends how effective we think it'll be, right? If we don't think it's very effective, then we're not going to necessarily do the same thing ourselves. The other problem is the U.S. has got like 6,000 commercial satellites in low orbit where the Russians are threatening. The Chinese have like 1,600. No, the Chinese have like 600. The Chinese had about 1/10 of the American. So the Americans had maybe 6,000 satellites. The Chinese had 600 or 700, something like that. And the Russians have got like 160 satellites. So the problem is we could build up our capacity and put nukes in space, but the Russians just don't have that many satellites. So I don't know. I don't know what. As always, I think that the U.S. is going to have to, we're going to have to stand up to Russia somehow on this. Honestly, Russia's pushing for another nuclear arms race, and it's not something they can win. They didn't win last time. They were able to build nukes, but it also brought their country down to collapse. And I'm a little worried that we're heading for another. We are definitely getting back into another Cold War. Russia used to be this. Now they're this. They're not that great anymore. They've still got nukes, which makes them a pain in the butt. They've got troops, they got weapons, but they're no longer a great power. But nonetheless, they've got nukes. And if they threaten Europe, we may not have the choice but to get into another arms race, which is really too bad. We'll win it, but it's a lot of money. It's too bad. But what do you do? So really quick, I've got a number of auction items up. The previous auction stuff is already boxed up. It is going to get mailed out tomorrow. The auctions from last week and the last couple of weeks, because I was out of town for the previous ones. Everything is boxed. Everything's stamped. It's going out tomorrow. I'm dropping it off. But I've got new auction items today. Our auctions are over on Discord, and basically we use them to help Ukraine. Half of the money from the auctions goes, it's all cool Ukrainian stuff, almost all Ukrainian stuff. Half the money goes to help Ukraine. Half the money goes to support me because I do this full time and I do it for free. But I don't do it for free because I literally can't afford to do it for free. So your guys' gifts help pay my bills, your subscriptions. Please consider subscribing, by the way, monthly subscriptions on TikTok and YouTube, and auction items. So, but honestly, the auctions don't bring in as much money, but they're a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed this because it's typically a lot of cool stuff from Ukraine, and it's fun. You can bid over on Discord. For Discord, for YouTube, go to aravosis.com, or any of you, go to aravosis.com, mylastname.com is my Linktree link that has a bunch of my different websites, including the link to my Discord. Or you guys on TikTok can just go to my TikTok profile, look for my Linktree link there, click it. It just, in my profile, there's only one link, click it, and look for Discord and click that. And then in Discord, you'll see the auctions. Now, a couple different items. Cool Ukrainian socks, handmade wool socks that Vlad bought in southwestern Ukraine, but they were, he got them in a small village. They're pretty cool. They're small. I think they're probably American size 7 is my guess, because I tried them over my socks and I'm 9.5 and they're really small. So probably about an American 7. I've got another one of those cool Ukrainian hot plates. These are from Juniper. Actually, it's nice because they smell great. This is a traditional Ukrainian craft, Vlad was telling me. And the one side, it's funny because it's kind of masculine and feminine. This side is kind of the more masculine side, I would say, as a hot plate. This side is a little goofy for my taste, but again, I would use this side. It's got like a little cute little chipmunk around a bunch of mushrooms and leaves and stuff. It's actually very cute. It's just not my taste. But if it's your taste, great. But if it's not your taste, you can use this side. What is nice, these is for hot plates, putting food on the table. Is it a hedgehog? What's neat about it is, Vlad said, you can already smell the juniper when it's got a hot plate on it, a hot bowl or pot or something. The warmth makes the wood give off the scent of the wood. So it's actually kind of cool. Anyway, that's kind of a neat item. I've got actually these t-shirts that are really cool. It's this t-shirt Vlad got in Ukraine. It's kind of cool. Again, kind of feminine. It's a woman with the Ukrainian colors. And on the bottom, it says in Ukrainian on the bottom, the word, what is it? Nezalezhna. Nezalezhna, which means independent. And basically, it's a woman kind of proclaiming her independence. I'm an independent woman. But at the same time, she's Ukraine because she's decked out as a, Ukrainian colors and all of that. So it's a patriotic message as well. Anyway, we've got this in large and medium. A couple other items. We've got another motanka. These are kind of fun. I'm calling these Ukrainian voodoo dolls. They're not voodoo dolls, but I'm calling them Ukrainian voodoo dolls. They are an old thing in Ukraine. This is a kit to make a doll. You can see the doll on the front. As I call my Ukrainian. Oh, hey, Yora. I'm calling these Ukrainian voodoo dolls, but they're not. They're this tradition that became very, very popular of late in Ukraine, I think with the war and everything else. And it's kind of based on the ancestors. It's a little confusing to me, but I think the idea is that you make the doll and it helps sort of protect your family. Vlad was telling me that they made one, or his wife made one, or the family did for her when she had her first baby, and they put it in the crib with the baby. It has some weird thing about either protecting you with the ancestors, protecting you from the ancestors. Thank you, Running. It protects you from spirits. Anyway, it's a whole Ukrainian folklore thing, but kind of cool. And it's the doll kit for making the doll. I've got a bunch of Ukrainian candy that Vlad picked up. Vlad and his daughter got this. It's like 5 different Ukrainian candy bars. I explain what they are. And, actually, I'm going to show you a couple more things. I'm not going to show you everything. I'll show you more tomorrow. I have the last Ukrainian flag military patch that I've got. This is the last one. This is very cool. This is a Ukrainian military patch. It is the most popular Ukrainian military patch because it's the Ukrainian flag. Velcro on the back. They go on uniforms. They typically would wear it on the uniform right here on their arm. This is the last one I've got. These are not easy to get. You can buy them in Ukraine, but when you export them, they get very upset. When Vlad exported a bunch of these, like about 2 years ago, Vlad got me these. This is my last one. Ukrainian customs called him for 45 minutes, and they were very concerned as to why. Thank you, Chris, for the membership again over on YouTube. They were very concerned as to why. I think you're running for the gifts. why he was exporting these out of the country by mail, because they said like, spies could use these to pretend they're Ukrainian military or something. Anyway, this is very cool. It's a very cool patch. The final thing. One of you was asking if I had any more Ukrainian stamps, and I have 2 more sets of Ukrainian stamps. The nicest one, I think, is this one. I've got the Ukrainian Russian warship Go F Yourself stamps. These are based on the story of the Moskva, which is the ship in the background there. You can see the ship. This is the the Russian ship, the Moskva, which the first day of the war, actually, or first day or first couple days, I think it was the first day of the war, goes to Snake Island in southern Ukraine. There's Ukrainian troops on the island, and the Russians tell the warship by radio, and this is recorded, the whole world heard it, Ukrainian military, surrender or we will kill you all. This is Russian warship, surrender or we will kill you. And the Ukrainian commander gets on the horn, and it was recorded. I mean, this is around the world. Gets and the recording and goes, Russian warship, go fuck yourself in Ukrainian. And he literally said, the F word in Ukrainian, go fuck yourself. Well, the Russians attacked. Most of the guys got captured. They were released eventually, so most of them survived. 6 weeks later, the Ukrainians, with a cruise missile they developed themselves, sank the Russian ship. This was the flagship of the Russian fleet, like their most important ship in that area. The Ukrainians sank it. And the Ukrainians pretty much have no navy. I mean, the Ukrainian Navy doesn't really have any boats. This was an amazing story. Anyway, so a painting was done, and the Ukrainians did a stamp. And the soldier, the last thing I'll tell you, the soldier is actually flipping his middle finger to the ship. If you look really closely, that's what he's doing. He's saying F you to the ship, which of course is what the troops had said too. So it's a very cool, it's a cool stamp collection. Anyway, one of you was asking if I had more stamps. I haven't done stamps in a while. And as I said, I've got this and one other set of stamps. These are the coolest ones. I may buy more. You'll see. A couple other things. I'll show you more tomorrow. But anyway, a lot of cool auction items. You can bid by going over to Discord. My Discord community is over. You can find Discord 2 ways. One, Aravosis.com. My last name.com, Aravosis.com, will bring up my Linktree link, my page of links, where look for Discord and click on that link. You can also find my PayPal and Venmo, and if you want to contribute, you can find my my LinkedIn if you want to see who I am, why I talk about this stuff, just see my background. But look for Discord. The other way is on TikTok, you can just go to my profile, look for the Linktree link in my profile on TikTok. Literally, there's only one link there's one URL in my profile. Click it, and again, look for Discord. And it's probably the first or second item. Click it, go to Discord. The only thing is on Discord, it's free, but you've got to register. You've got to join my community. It's free, but you've got to, it takes a little bit of work because we get spam, the bad guys. So you've got to go there. You got to click the button that says I'm a human being, read me, this kind of stuff. Otherwise, it's pretty cool. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Yoda. Well, if people are even more so, I would say, if you've got anything to add, jump in. Yoda was saying he or she is I'm going to guess she is Ukrainian. And if we've got any questions, they can answer us. But feel free to also jump in if you've got some sort of comments on what's going on. What do you think the outcome of this newer Cold War? I guess I'm not sure what you mean by outcome. I mean, the last one took a long time. Took a long time to win. The problem is it's very expensive. It's very expensive. I mean, what do you do? But we don't have a choice. I mean, Russia's trouble. They're threatening Europe. They're threatening a world war is what they're doing. And what we have learned throughout history is you don't stop world wars by appeasing the guy who's threatening it. You stop world wars by standing up to the guy who's threatening world war. So we don't really have a choice. You just don't have a choice. Vicky, there's you should be able to bid. The only thing is the bidding, Mustard can tell you, the bidding is not easy the first time you do it. It's like /bid space and then the amount. Look very carefully at the example that's in the auction item itself. In the auction item, it'll explain an example on the bottom. Thank you, Marsha. And I believe it's /bid space and then 25 if your bid is 25, and it should work. But sometimes for the sometimes when you first go there, Discord is I think Discord is old technology, but you don't write the word amount, Max. You wouldn't write the word amount. So it would be /bid space 25 would be the way you do it. And it's in dollars. But Discord is kind of old technology. So I think it's not, see, it won't let me open Discord. It's not easy. The other thing is, anyway, if you can help other people too, if you can help people, please do. Because like I said, it's not fun. I know, trying to get stuff to work. Anyway, okay. Hey, Poppy. I don't know that have I seen you in a while here? I don't remember. I just don't remember you popping up. I'm sure you've been around. Discord can be once you get it working, it's great. But like when I first got on Discord was before Ukraine, it confused the hell out of me. And then I suddenly figured it out and I went, okay. But initially Discord is very confusing, I think. And as I said, once you get used to it, it makes sense, but it's not really made for somebody new, I would say, unfortunately. I mean, it's the best thing out there. Thank you, Danon, which is also kind of unfortunate, but I don't think it's made for novices, unfortunately. You know? Yeah, Courtney, it's, again, once you get used to it, you will see how easy it is. But it's not intuitive. Maybe that's the best way to put it, right? It's not intuitive. And I'm good with tech too. Thank you, Danon. You know, so I can only imagine for people who aren't, it isn't obvious. Anyway, what do you do? Yeah, Big Hawk and some of the others on TikTok are trying to give some suggestions. Hopefully they can help you guys figure it out. Anyway. All right, what else, guys? Yep. And there is, yeah, there is another bracelet today. Yes, I didn't show you. There is another bracelet today too. Sorry, I was trying to sort of get the show going and not keep showing you auction items, but I did put another bracelet. This one's kind of cool. It's a brown one. I like this one because again, this is much more unisex. Well, they're all unisex really, but I like it because it's brown, but also the faceplate is the Ukrainian trident, but I like blues and stuff. I think the blue is very, oh, hello. Thank you for that. Thank you for the cheek pulled in on. You guys can see, is it in, trying to get it in focus. Come on. Well, you can see it's not coming totally in focus. Well, there you can see. It's pretty. I think it's very pretty. I like them because they're very unisex. They're a little masculine, but not really. And this color as well, the lighter color, I think works for men. I mean, black works for women too. But it is a complicated website. I know. You are very welcome, Yoda. We're trying to keep helping. The bracelets are cool. Yeah, the bracelets are very cool. I also actually, what the hell? I'll keep showing you because I've got 10 things up today. The bracelet should be adjustable. Yeah. Yes, because it's tied on the back. I don't know how you do it, but it's tied on the back so you can adjust it. Yes. I'm not sure how you do it, whether you just untie, you see what I mean? Whether you just untie the tie right here, but you would just undo this knot and tie it however you like. I do have another Bali mask. I was just in Indonesia last month. My nephew was getting married to a woman from Singapore, and they met in Indonesia in Bali. So we had the wedding there. And I picked up this mask on the way out, which I like a lot. I like the Bali. The Indonesians make really cool masks. They have a big culture of masks and things, and they use them for a lot of plays and telling stories. Anyway, I just thought this was very pretty. I like the sort of pointillism of it. I like the colors. You can see the size. It's pretty good size. Anyway, that's there as well. And you know what? The final auction item, I might as well show you. I have the final police badge from Ukraine. This is a traffic cop badge from the early 1990s from the Ukrainian town of Kherson. And you can tell because the number on the bottom, you see how it says 0269? Well, before 0269 are the Ukrainian letters that in English look like X and H, but they're not X and H on the very bottom. They're actually H and N for Kherson. Kherson, Kherson, is the big town in southern Ukraine that the Russians took for a while and the Ukrainians got it back. This is a traffic cop badge from that town, Ukrainian trident, and it says sort of the department, whatever. Anyway, kind of cool stuff. So we've got that auction. That's my last one of those. I think it's kind of cool. I think they're interesting. They're interesting gifts. Anyway, check them out. that is it. So yes, let's talk more about Ukraine and or politics or whatever you want. What else we got going? Let's talk. And you know what? We're not going to do Discord tonight. I was going to, but I've got a friend coming over to watch Netflix later, so I have to run to the store before that. San Marino? What's going on with San Marino? I don't. Oh, wool? You mean? I'm not sure what you mean. Anyway. Yeah, I'm sure they are. WC Fields. Russia's denying the charge that it's putting weapons in space, but they are. You know, Max, be nice. Actually, I'm going to finally watch some Bollywood stuff on Netflix because I've been wanting. I know nothing about India, nothing about Indian culture. Going to Indonesia made me, India curious because the religion, in Bali at least, the religion is Hindu. So they've got a lot of Buddhas and everything everywhere. But it got me very curious. So I'm going to finally. Your mom said I'm a wonderful speaker. Thank you. What's although your last name, your name, if that's your name looks very almost French or so, although Patel could be Eastern European too. Is your mom American or is your mom European or something? Just curious. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I'm Greek. We're into these things. We're always into sort of people's ethnicities and that kind of stuff because we have a lot of very strong ethnic communities in Chicago. Oh, she's American. Interesting. Okay. Because your name looks very foreign, if that's your full name. Patel could be Indian, actually. That's true. Patel is Indian, isn't it? I was going to say Patel isn't. Yeah, it is Indian. That's right. Yep. Okay, that's why. Yeah, I was going to say Patel wouldn't be European. Although Julian made me think French. Although Julian would be Julien with an E in French, but still. Pakistani, yeah, both, I guess. Buddha is Buddhism, yeah, or Hindu. That's true. Yeah, they've got a bunch of Buddhas. I don't quite know how this works. Bali, there are like Buddhas everywhere, but I believe there were Buddhas everywhere. I thought there were a lot of Buddhas, but they also are Hindu. So I don't do they use Buddhas in Hinduism? All I know is Bali had both. So I just sort of assumed they went together, but I don't know. Unless Bali's multi-religious. I'm seeing no and yes. Vicky and Josh in a row go no, yes. But different gods entirely. So Buddha is just Buddhism, not Hindu at all. Okay. But I believe they're Hindu. It's the same concept, essentials, Hindu, high God. I remember Bali being Hindu, but Buddha being involved. So, you had a $1,200 Buddha, your cat knocked off the shelf. Oh my God. Actually, I went to the museum it's not a museum, the temple. Thank you, Josh, in Singapore that has all of the little body parts of Buddha, which was very interesting. Yeah, that's what I mean. They've got Buddha. Buddha's like revered in Singapore, but they're actually Singapore too. What religion is Singapore? I'm forgetting. Aren't they Hindu as well? Are they Hindu or are they Buddhists? No, they'd be Buddhist because it's the Chinese influence. Well, excuse me. They've got four religions or four main ethnic groups there. So it's not just Buddhism. They've got 25% Christians as well. It's Buddhism. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I know they've got 25% Christians, Buddhist, probably Hindu, and Muslim, I think, is the fourth. I'm pretty sure. Because Malaysia is right there. Singapore is fascinating. Really, really fascinating. Wikipedia says Bali is 87% Hindu and 1% Buddhist. Okay, interesting because there were Buddhas. Although, you know what? You know what I may be doing? I'm probably conflating my Singapore trip with Bali, remembering the Buddhas. I'm probably remembering the Buddhas in Singapore. Because Bali, I know, was Hindu because that's also why Bali is more liberal than mainland, whatever you want to call it, the rest of Indonesia, because the rest of Indonesia is Muslim and more conservative religiously. And Bali is much, liberal socially as well in some ways. But that's why you're right. I'm thinking of all the Buddhas in Singapore, not in Bali. That's got to be it. You're right. Bali was the female, do you say Vinesh, you said, was like the female woman, the statue and things like that. Hey, Uraipon in Thailand. Good to see you. Confusing the statues. Yeah, it's, ours are easy. It's like Jesus, or the Virgin Mary. I mean, Greeks tend not to have a Virgin Mary statue, but the Catholics, we don't have statues to start with, really. The Catholics have a lot of statues. Buddha was believed to be born in North India. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. But yeah, they got the really cool Buddhist temple. That's a really cool temple, but then all the little Buddha body parts in little glass beads and stuff. It's wild stuff. And this beautiful, I don't know what you call it, an altar or something. I don't know if you call it an altar in Buddhism, but this ridiculously beautiful, huge gold altar in Singapore in the Buddha body part temple place. It's very cool. All right. Anyway, Vishnu and Krishna. Oh, Krishna makes sense. Greek Orthodox have saints. We've got a lot of saints. We don't talk about the saints as much as Catholics do, though. Like Catholics will wear their little pendant for, Saint Christopher, the saint of travel. In Greek, I don't even know if we have saints for specific things. I grew up knowing none of that being Greek Orthodox. We never were taught, oh, there's a saint for dogs or pets or whatever, right? You don't do that in Greek. Whereas the Catholics, very much so. So we have a lot of saints, but we don't, I'm not very religious, but we don't, it's not the same as the Catholics do, basically. Well, we do name our churches after them and, that kind of stuff, icons, etc., for the various saints, Brahma. Anyway. Oh, the best Ukrainian meal in Chicago last week. Oh, that's good. Very good. Where was it? Just curious for people who are in Chicago area. Thank you, Aviation, for the lightning bolt. Do keep the gifts coming, guys. Just looking here. Good night, Linda. Sweden should be tired. I know it's a little late for you guys. Thank you. Lutherans bless their pets once a year. That's kind of sweet, though. If I were more religious, I could see doing that. Snuffleupagus is in Kyiv in 3 weeks. That's cool. What else we got, guys? Brahma's a cool name. Brahma. What else, guys? Oh, man. We're not talking. I mean, it's okay if we don't talk politics. I don't mind hanging out talking other stuff, but people are very interested in talking about other issues tonight, I can tell. We're talking about our pets, Catholicism, Buddha, Hinduism. Trump is claiming Biden tried to assassinate him during the Oh, I saw that today. This is why I'm telling you the man is dangerous. I know we get talking about Trump and it pisses off the Republicans. Guys, you've got a problem. He's now claiming, that Biden authorized the FBI to use deadly force during the FBI raid. Total bullshit. The FBI doesn't use deadly force when they're coming in to execute a search warrant to look for documents. And doing it at Mar-a-Lago when Donald Trump, the whole thing's bullshit. But the problem is stochastic terrorism. Google it. Stochastic. Donald Trump says things that convince people to do violence. That's what stochastic terrorism is. It is terrorism basically caused not by someone saying, go do this terrorist act, but by someone saying things that they know will convince you, thank you, K9, to do a terrorist act, such as, right, the former president, the leader of a political party, telling all of his followers, that guy just tried to kill me. So his followers believe it. And by the way, if you're a follower of Donald Trump and you think Joe Biden is literally trying to kill Trump, what would you do to protect Trump against someone who's literally trying to kill Trump? I can't answer that question without TikTok getting upset at me. So I'm not going to answer the question, but take a guess what happens if somebody thinks Donald Trump is going to be murdered by Joe Biden. They're going to stop Joe Biden before he does it, right? That's what is so dangerous about the crap that Trump does. He says things that we know will lead to violence. That's the problem. And by the way, that's exactly what stochastic terrorism is. Listen to this. Stochastic terrorism is when a political or media figure publicly demonizes a person or group in a way that inspires supporters of the figure to commit a violent act against the target. The point is that typically they don't say, go kill that person. They typically tell you, like I just said, that person's trying to kill me. So that, of course, if you love me, what would you do if you loved someone and someone was trying to kill them? You would stop the person before they killed them. And you, by any means necessary, you would do January 6th, as Daryl just said. And this drives Trump supporters crazy, and they hate it. And I'm sorry you hate it, but this is who you're voting for. And if it bothers you, the fact that Trump is basically convincing people to kill and do bad things, certainly to do violence, then maybe you should stand up and say something about it rather than denying it. But it kind of gets me because Trump says this crap and then his supporters turn around and go, oh, you're mean. Why would you say that about wonderful Donald? You know what? At least have some balls. If you're going to support the man, right? At least endorse his craziness, endorse his corruption, endorse the fact that he cheats on his wife and sleeps with prostitutes, but sleeps with porn stars and pays them off, right? Endorse the fact that he's in bed with America's enemies, hates our freedoms. He said that the Enzis in Charlottesville that killed a woman were very fine people, that he didn't care about COVID and said COVID was going to go away and ignored it. I mean, at least embrace it. At least if you're at least the anti-vaxxers embraced being anti-vax. But it kills me with Trump supporters where he's so crazy on so many things and they sit there and go, oh, that's not fair. As if they don't like seriously, you all want to ban women from getting abortions. Just admit it, right? Stop being so defensive about it. You want to ban, and you're literally doing it in 20 American states. Women can now not get an abortion. 20 American states. We only have 50 states, guys. 50. 20 of them. No more abortions because of Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Donald Trump single-handedly did it. Be proud of the fact that you guys want to take rights away from women. The Republican Party is now talking about banning contraception. That's a whole other thing now. Yep. Republican Party leader last year said next thing on the agenda was going after contraception. Donald Trump said a week or two ago, he had a plan coming up on contraception and stuff. Then he freaked out because everyone found out and then claimed yesterday, oh, we're not going after contraception. They want to ban contraception, guys. They want to take away Obamacare, my health insurance. They want to kill my health insurance. Okay? I mean, at least admit it and I'm sorry, but this is what drives me crazy with Trump supporters when they come here. You're not fair. You're being biased. At least be proud of who you are. If you're going to embrace this kind of crap, then embrace it. But don't deny it later. It's just embarrassing at this point. You want to take healthcare away from 20 million Americans, including me. Not just that, you want to take healthcare away from every American, because guess what Obamacare did too? In America, before Obamacare was the big healthcare plan President Obama did, Democrat. Guess what happened in America before Obamacare? Thank you, Claire. You guys in other countries are going to die when you hear this. And we were literally dying here. In America, before President Obama, your health insurance only gave you a certain amount of benefits every year. And then they said, no more, you're using too much. Now, keep in mind, in America, things are ridiculously expensive for healthcare, right? A doctor visit, beginning price of a doctor visit, anywhere from $80 to $100, probably in America. In France, I think it's 27 euros or something, or maybe 33 now. In America, it's like $100. An emergency room visit, an average emergency room visit in America, I don't even know is the average $400 or is it $1,000? It's crazy, okay? Treatments for cancer and everything, forget it. They're out the window. Before President Obama, our insurance said you could only spend a certain amount of money per year on your healthcare. For example, my prescription drugs, okay? I have asthma. My asthma is under control. My asthma drugs cost $5,000 to $6,000 a year, okay? $5,000 to $6,000, $500 a month. My asthma drugs cost me in America. Those same drugs in France cost like $60, $70, about 1/10 the price in France, okay? In America, 10 times the price, $6,000 a year. My insurance, which was the best insurance I could get, would only cover $1,200 a year. So every year I had to pay $4,000 out of pocket for my asthma medicine because my insurance wouldn't cover it in America. That's how screwed up our insurance was. And the best part, if you got cancer in America, because so people get cancer, it could cost a couple $1,000,000, right? Because cancer in America, cancer treatments are very expensive. Surgery, chemotherapy, right? This kind of stuff, radiation. People would get cancer, especially lung cancer and things like that. They get cancer. And once you spent $2 million on your cancer, which is very easy to do if you have bad cancer, your insurance would cut you off for the rest of your life. No more insurance. And nobody else would give you any more insurance. $2 million and that was it. And again, in America, if you have cancer, it's easy to spend $2 million. People literally would run out of insurance and no one's giving you insurance. You've got cancer and now you can't pay for it. That's what we had in America before Obamacare. That's what Donald Trump and the Republican Party want to get rid of. They literally tried, and a famous American senator who's dead now, John McCain, was the only vote, not the only, he was the pivotal vote that stopped Donald Trump from killing this medical program that helps me and helps a lot of people in medical insurance and everything else. It would have killed it. The one Republican, very conservative Republican, but he voted against Trump and saved the plan. His vote, had he voted the other way, my insurance would be gone. All those protections would be gone. They would once again be telling us that they would only give us a certain amount of coverage every year. They would only be giving us a certain amount for our, anyway, this is why people like me get very upset when we see this election coming up, because it's personal. The man tried to take my health care. And if you're a woman, he's literally taking away your right to an abortion. Or if you're a man as well, by the way, because guess what, boys? You're involved too if the woman gets pregnant. I got news for you, right? You're going to have a little baby that you didn't want either for the rest of your life. But it really pisses me off. But no, our system is much better now, but it's still crazy. But our system is much better. But the American healthcare system, good freaking luck. Right now, okay, because I have Obamacare because I work for myself. There's 4 levels at my age, there's 4 levels of Obamacare that I can buy. Platinum, gold, silver, and bronze, right? Bronze is the least, like where you have to spend a lot of money before the insurance kicks in. Platinum's the best. I get gold, which is the second best, 2 out of 4. So it's good, but it's 2 out of 4, right? My insurance alone costs me $1,400 a month for my insurance. That's what my insurance costs me. Then I have to pay $1,500 before my insurance kicks in. So I have a deductible first. So $1,500 out of my pocket for medical payments. Then my insurance kicks in and then the prices get better. But the prices get better mean, my drugs cost me anywhere from $20 to $60 for prescriptions. That's with insurance. It's insane the way our system works. You guys would die. Literally you would die if you came to America and saw the way our healthcare system works compared to what it is in Europe, for example. It's amazing what Americans make fun of the French. The French healthcare system's amazing. I had eye surgery in France because I had a retinal detachment when I was in France and knew the signs because my sister had it, knew what to look for. I had to get emergency surgery. My surgery cost 2,000 euros, which at the time was around $2,400, I think $2,200. In America, that surgery would have been a minimum of $25,000. It probably would have been much more, actually. My cataract surgery was $30,000. I had cataracts early when I was younger. $30,000 for cataract surgery, guys. My insurance, I only had to pay $2,000 of my own money I had to pay for my surgery. That was with insurance because thank God my insurance covered the other $28,000. But imagine paying $30,000 for cataracts. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And like I said, paying $2,000 was really good. Europeans can wait longer to see doctors, but I got news for you. Good luck trying to see a dermatologist in Washington, D.C. if you haven't seen one before, because you will wait 3 to 6 months to see a dermatologist in Washington, D.C. Every time I've tried to go to a new specialist in Washington, it's been months. I had, a weird little growth that honestly I thought might have been cancerous, right? I called the dermatologist and they were like, there's nothing available till July. And I'm like, it's February. I've got a growth that I fear could be cancer. You want me to wait 4 months? Sir, we don't have any appointments. So you can have to wait in Canada and Britain especially, but it depends. You know, you can, but typically the wait is also for stuff that isn't. Oh, it isn't. Oh my God, you need it now. If you need knee replacement surgery, they could say, you know what, you'll live for 6 months without a knee replacement. Wait 6 months. You know. So they have to wait, but you guys know better than I do. The Europeans can tell you. Typically, emergency room in France was amazing. Emergency room in France was quicker than the American emergency room, but there still was a wait. The price was again like 30 euros. It was like $30 to go to the emergency room. And I was like, okay, that's a little weird. And they were amazing. They were amazing. So at least in France, the emergency room was great. And when I was in France, I went to the emergency room on a Tuesday or maybe a Monday. I think I went to the emergency room maybe on a Monday. They did some surgery and said, give it a day or two. And if it doesn't hold the retina in place, whatever. They did the surgery, and bottom line is, I remember going on a Tuesday, and in France they said you need the surgery, but the operating room or whatever is booked, and I had to wait 2 or 3 days for my surgery. It was only 2 or 3. Now, it's emergency surgery. It was a detached retina, but detaching mine, I was fortunate. It was beginning to detach, so I could still see. Like I apparently have a blind spot, but it's little and it's in the middle. So like my other eye covers it. So my sister's got a big blind spot, but I've got a small one that I don't see. But I had to go 2 or 3 days because there was nothing ready. Well, I got news for you. In America, good luck getting an appointment for surgery in 1 day as well. I mean, good luck, it's crazy. Yeah. Be careful with the retina stuff. I wrote about my retinal experience in France, and it was interesting because I had a very big political blog at the time that was very well known. And I wrote about my retinal detachment, my experience getting surgery, the price, and what the symptoms were like. And I think like 5 or 6 people recognized the symptoms from my blog post and went to the doctors, and several of them did have detachments, or they had tears, I should say, in their retina. So that's a whole other thing. Google that, because that's something you should know. You don't often feel, oh, good, Delisle, that's good. Because you don't, actually, the one thing I will tell you, if you are concerned about a tear in your retina, it is an emergency. It is not an appointment next Tuesday, just so you know. Any kind of potential problem with your retina like that is emergency. It is not 5 days from now. Okay, yearly checkup, that's different. That's okay. But anyway, yeah, kind of wild. But no, in France, I love my surgeon in France gave me her phone number. She said, if you've got any questions, here's my cell phone. Feel free to call. And I said, your cell phone? She goes, yeah. I said, well, I'm not going to call. She goes, if you want to, you can. I'm like, I can call your cell phone? I was like, okay. I'm laughing. It was the craziest thing. I was like, thank you. My doctors in America never give me their cell phone. It was very funny. Anyway, no, I loved my healthcare in France. I've had the best healthcare in France whenever I've been there. Doctors too. Doctors get shitty pay in France. That's a whole other issue. They don't make money like we do here. Floaters. Everyone can have floaters, but floaters can also be a sign that you've got a tear in your retina that's very dangerous. Because the problem with retinal problems is you don't have any nerves, so that you can't, you won't feel it. So like I had a tear, I've had several tears in my retina. I never felt it because you won't feel it. So like in the worst case, you'll see snow and things, or you'll see light flashes. If you see snow and there's no snow like falling around you, or you see flashes of light, you get to an emergency room immediately. And I would actually say, or call a retinal doctor and get in there that day, because the emergency rooms can be really effed up too. I went to, the emergency room here in DC was not a great. They don't know they don't quite know what they're doing for this kind of a specialty, but you don't wait for something like that. Yeah. Anyway, but it's funny. Yeah. Americans are conned into thinking we have good healthcare. Yeah. Cataract surgery was easy. Do talk to them, because like at the time, for example, you could get bifocal cataracts or something, or not cataracts, but I think bifocal cataract lenses that apparently didn't work well. And my doctor he was great. I loved him, but he told me, he goes, 70% of the people who get those lenses hate them. So, and once you get it in there, it's never going away. So make sure, you get all the details. Can you buy over-the-counter medicines at pharmacies? You can only buy over-the-counter, yes, but over-the-counter means non-prescription. So you can buy aspirin, you can buy acetaminophen, right? But you can't buy any prescription drugs at pharmacies unless you have a prescription. Some countries reportedly you can get more from a pharmacy without a prescription, not in America. In America, you can only get drugs that quite literally aren't prescription drugs, and those tend to be the obvious things, She did have the bifocal. Good for her. Okay. Well, it worked for her. And also mine was 15 years ago. So, hopefully they've advanced since then, No, I trust American medicine in many ways. The problem is the cost, right? I mean, I've had health scares and I went to some of the top specialists in the US, and I'm glad I did, in New York and Chicago, literally like the two top guys in their field, because I was scared to death. But it was not cheap. And thank God I had Obama. Actually, at that point, I had Obamacare. So it was decently covered, at least, which is good. But it's very expensive is the problem here. That's the problem, Anyway. All right, guys, anything last? Otherwise, I'm going to go. I got to go to the store and buy some Coca-Cola. Cost you almost $1,000 for a bag of saline in an ER. Oh yeah. That's the other thing. They charge you like for aspirin and things like not aspirin, but acetaminophen or whatever, crazy prices at our emergency rooms. I remember I was having a headache because of this idiot poking my eye. She didn't know what she was doing with one of my retinal problems. And she goes, do you want me to get a Tylenol? And I said to her, how much is it going to cost? And she said, I don't know. I said, I'm not taking a Tylenol if it's going to cost me $100. That's ridiculous. And she couldn't tell me, which is the other problem. Doctors don't know the prices because the doctors aren't really the ones charging you. Oh God. All right. The other American healthcare story, when you go for surgery in France, I go for my retinal surgery and the American insurance tells me, okay, first of all, American insurance would not tell me if they were going to cover my retinal surgery when I was in France. I was in France for the summer. I had emergency retinal tear. It's emergency surgery. You have to get the surgery. I call Blue Cross Blue Shield. Will you cover it? We can't tell you. What do you mean you can't tell me? Literally, this is the surgery. How can you not tell me if the surgery either is or isn't covered? Sir, you will have to submit your receipt and then we will decide after you get the surgery. I'm like, okay. They tell me, but make sure when you get the receipt from the French hospital, it has to be a detailed receipt. We need to know everything. How much was the doctor? How much was the medicine? How much was the room? I'm like, okay. I have the surgery. The doctor says, you need to stay the night. I was like, shit. So now I'm going to pay for a hospital bed too. I'm like, great. You got to spend the night. I'm like, great. I spend the night. And the next morning, my doctor comes. She says, okay, you can check out. This is good. The woman from the hospital comes and just to not dismiss me. What do you call it? When they tell you can go, comes to my room and says, okay, here you go. Here's I don't even know what she gave me. And she starts to walk out of the room. And I said, literally, she's like, you can go now. She walks out. I went, Madame, this is one of the hospital administrators. I said, Madame, don't I have to pay you? I mean, I'm a foreigner visiting France and no one has brought up payment and I'm leaving the hospital. And she goes, oh, well, you could go check at the caisse discharge at the caisse downstairs, the cashier, but it's Saturday. So they're probably closed. I said, okay, well, what do I do to pay? Mind you guys, it's like pulling blood from a turnip. And she goes, well, I'm sure they'll just send you a letter. I'm like, okay. I go downstairs. The cashier is actually, the cashier was closed, I think, but I had to go back for a checkup. So I go back for, the food was terrible. I went back for a checkup and then the cashier was open. So I went to the cashier and I said, hey, how does it work? I'm American. I'm here for another couple. Actually, I was here for another 2 months because I couldn't travel. And she said, oh yeah, we'll bill you. And I said, okay, when I get the bill, my American insurance said, I need an itemized bill with all the details. She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I need the details of They said, how much was the doctor? How much is the room? How much is the anesthesia? She goes, the surgery is 2,000 euros. I said, right, but how much is the doctor? The surgery is 2,000 euros. That's what you're paying. I said, really? She goes, it's 2,000 euros. There is no doctor anesthesia. Even the room, I think, was included. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah. I said, okay, that's the way it was. In France, you just pay for in America, I kid you not. You go to the emergency room, guys. You go to the emergency room and you've got 3 different doctors sending you a bill. Each doctor bills you separately. This is the crazy thing too. Each one will send you a separate invoice for the bill. If you have surgery, the anesthesiologist will send you a bill. The surgeon will send you a bill. The hospital will send you a bill for the room. It's insane. And again, each one is giving you a different bill. So you're going, what the hell's going on? It's crazy. But literally to have multiple doctors is the crazy thing. Multiple doctors bill you separately. And in France, she goes, it's $2,000 for the surgery. That's just what it is. There is no bill otherwise, and my insurance did cover, like I said, they covered 90% of it. So I paid $200. So that was good. My American insurance covered it in the end. It was crazy. Yeah. $30,000 for a retinal detachment. Yeah. Yeah. And mind you, $30,000 for retinal detachment, and then it depends how good your insurance is. If your insurance is very good, you pay 10% of the $30,000. That means $3,000. If your insurance is not very good, which most people's the case, you're paying anywhere from 20 to 50% of the $30,000. So you could be paying $10,000, $15,000. I mean, our system is so, but again, Obamacare addressed a lot of this. It's not perfect. It's still expensive, but it addressed a lot of it. It's certainly better than it was. Like I said, my asthma drugs were $5,000 a year. Now my prescriptions are pretty good. It's crazy. Anyway, okay, guys, I'm going to go. It's getting late. I've got to run and do some stuff. Thank you for joining us, guys. I'm not going to do a summary because it's getting late, but thank you guys for joining us. And we got into a whole thing on American healthcare. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you, mods. I am here every night, Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern time, US. So join us then. And there you go. All right. And tomorrow, God knows what we'll talk Ukraine, but maybe we'll talk about something else too. Who knows? All right, guys, have a good night. Thank you all. Thank you, YouTube. Glad at least it's working on YouTube. All right. See you guys. Thank you. Boom. And you all. Bye.